Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Presentence Report Service. I have physician prison consultants. My phone is 240-888-7778, and today I'm going to go through what has been in the news significantly. Let me drag down, this is my homepage. A little bit of Charlie Brown there, where the new Bureau of Prison Director Marshall has been tasked with implementing First Step Back early release to home confinement for those that are eligible. And so that's pretty much a very big lift. And so when you click on that link, it's going to bring you to this particular page, which has a lot of information on it. And it's going to be a running link that will have all information week by week that you'll be able to see. But this is the most important one that we're talking about today. And this link here, which I can enlarge a little bit more, I'm going to jump right to it over here. And Director Marshall launches the First Step Back. And what we can what for those of you that are already in the midst of it, you're aware that the thing has not been, it's been up running since about 2018, and it really has not given the benefits that it should have. It was given 5 years to be able to function, to allow people to be released early as you earn credits through the First Step Back and Second Chance Act towards an earlier release into halfway house, into home confinement. There's a lot of prerequisites that go along with that, but the information really and the calculation of all of the numbers regarding earned time credits have not been passed down accurately from Grand Prairie, Texas to the individual case managers around the country. And so you have the case managers being caught in the middle between those of us that were inside. I too was convicted of a felony 20 some years ago. I was grateful to get my medical license back to practice, but this was before there was even a First Step Back, but this has been ongoing, and it's taken several BOP, Bureau of Prison directors up until Director William Marshall III, where he's actually gone into the field. He's made some inspections unannounced, some announced in different BOP facilities, and what he's done is that in this task force, he's learned that this pattern has emerged where inmates are frustrated. At the same time, the staff, that's all the different side of the story. The majority of the staff are doing their best with the information that they have, but unfortunately, they're taking the blame from the inmates and the families who thought they were dragging their feet. But the staff were working with. I was surprised to learn that while we're all using, now, I can be wrong, but when we're all using Windows, some of us are using, OIS from DOS. OIS from Mac. They're using DOS, which is just crazy to me, if that's true. And so he mobilized this solution, a dedicated task force, straight to the Designation Sentence and Commutation Center to assist the Bureau's residential reentry management team offices by manually identifying and correcting community placement dates. They're going to be doing this by hand with the BOP staff there, and then passing this off to the individual halfway houses. So for those that are in halfway houses too long already, they can get moved to home confinement. Then they're going to start this same task, and they're going to move them. They're going to begin then transitioning this information into individual prisons. Now, I'm well aware that to date, that there are those of us, or those of you who are in individual prisons where case managers are telling you that until they get information from Grand Prairie, Texas, or they hear from the Director of Bureau of Prisons, they're not going to do anything. That nobody's going directly to home confinement, and that's unfortunate. And I hope that those case managers get with the program, because if that information gets back to either the Director of the Bureau of Prisons, the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Prisons, Director Smith, who was a felon at one point 30 years ago, or to this gentleman here, Rick Stover, who's Senior Deputy Director at this designation center, then they're going to be in a boatload of hot water. But the task force is going to identify individuals that are currently, as I said, in RRCs or in these halfway houses that are eligible for home confinement and move them out so that those people that are in prison that need that halfway house bed can get them. They're going to manually calculate home confinement placement dates, which stacks both First Step Back and Second Chance Act. They're going to relay, as I said, those dates to the residential reentry management offices to accelerate those transition and free up bed space. They're going to review the eligible incarcerated people who are in the institution to move them home and move those that need the bed space in the halfway houses to halfway houses. All this sounds wonderful and great, and we can all be in agreement to that. Unfortunately, the problem is that this stuff doesn't happen overnight. You're dealing with approximately 100 prisons. Each prison has multiple case managers. You're dealing, if in fact you're dealing with us at Grand Prairie, Texas, which I hope they're not. But if the system they're working on is us, then I don't even have an answer to that. But even in the best of circumstances, you're not to change this culture of the administration of an agency wanting those members of the agency to move in a certain direction is not going to happen overnight. And so it's still going to require for individuals who are in prison and going into prison to make sure that you are as prepared as you can be. And these are just some basic things to keep track of. If you're taking these classes, keep track of each and every class so that if somewhere along the line you feel that they have calculated not enough earn time credits for you, and you have kept track of each and every class that you've taken, you now have what I'll consider insurance. But you'll have a paper trail for yourself, which is your insurance, literally. And so, you need to guard that paperwork for yourself to have that. Don't get on anyone's cell phone, please, because if that cell phone gets caught, and eventually they all get caught, and if you have a number on there that somehow they can link a phone number to you, that can wind up with another charge. You could lose all your earned time credits, your good time credits. It could just create a world of hurt. You don't need that. Do your own jobs. If you have a job, if you have a job inside, do it. I didn't do any job when I was in prison. This didn't exist. But do your job because they will take notice. Try and be respectful, even if the case managers and unit team, even if they're jerks. They're just try and be respectful. Don't get in any trouble if you are unable to do that. If you're able not to do that, mentor. If you are going with an education, you try and mentor others. Try and do constructive activities. As I say, go to your classes. If you're on a longer sentence, it's not long. If it's 5 years, if at the midway point, if it's 10 years at the midway point, if it's 4 years at the midway point, start inquiring about what you need to do regarding either Second Chance Act or as you're meeting or meeting with your case managers, start asking them questions. If you have letters coming from home that are of support, and maybe there is someone at home that is willing to hire you, these are great letters. If you've worked on a release plan, you don't need to have a release plan with this First Step Act task force, but this may not be implemented right away. And so it just may be that little bit of extra. I hope you found this interesting. I'm not here to frustrate you, but unfortunately, this has been something that's been very frustrating to people. We're in the year 2025, and it started in 2018. And so, it's not going to turn around overnight. So a lot of what we will need to do is going to be on us until everything that they're trying to implement gets done. And so, Mother Nature may need a little bit of push by us along the way. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you all have a safe day.